Welcome to Il Salotto Sessions, the podcast where we dive deep into the world of design with leading architects, designers, and industry experts. I'm your host, Sara Seravalli, and I'm thrilled to take you on this journey through the ever-evolving landscape of design and architecture. Let me share a bit about my background. I spent 16 enriching years in Milan, the capital of design, where I was deeply involved in showrooms and events not just in Milan, but also in Paris and London. In 2011, I made a pivotal move to London when I was hired by one of the specification market's main players to establish the new showroom in Clerkenwell. In 2013, my journey brought me to Scotland, where I founded Design Pop-Up. This initiative quickly gained traction and became a cornerstone in Glasgow and Manchester's design communities, and by 2018 we also expanded to Dublin. However, as the market evolved, I decided to refocus our efforts on Scotland. This led to the birth of Il Salotto, a new venture aimed at creating a virtual and physical space for meaningful conversations and insights into the specification market. Join us as we explore trends, share bios, and uncover the stories behind the creative minds shaping our world. Today we have a truly special guest joining us, a brilliant and highly respected figure in the architecture and design scene in London. Daniel Gava is a name that resonates deeply within the industry, with years of experience and a keen eye for luxury and innovation. Daniel has become a well-connected and known figure in the Clerkenwell community. Today, we'll be diving into fascinating conversation about the importance of showrooms in the specification market, how the regional markets are evolving, and why luxury brands are not selling many chairs north of the Adrian Wall. And of course, we can't discuss design without talking about London, the city that serves as the beating heart of so much creativity and trends. So whether you are a design professional, an enthusiast, or just curious about the latest trends in the industry, this episode is packed with insights you won't want to miss. Let's dive in. Hi there. Today I'm here with Daniel Gava, the brilliant Daniel Gava. Daniel, hi.
Hello, Sarah. Thanks for having me. Thanks for saying brilliant.
My pleasure. So Daniel and I share the same cultural background. We both come from the northeast of Italy. And
Yes.
it's an area in Italy where furniture is really our bread and butter, or to be more specifically, our polenta and merlot. There is furniture manufacturing everywhere. Some of the brands you would know, like Moroso or La Palma, they're well known in the UK. Some other manufacturers are smaller scale, but always good quality. They're made in Italy. There is Il Distretto della Sedia, the chair district is about half an hour from my hometown. And when I was a kid, they were making 30% of the worldwide production of chairs there. So we really grown up surrounded by design and furniture. Daniel, you started your journey at the very top with Poltrona Frau. So how did you go from Poltrona Frau and then landed in London in 2011?
So yeah, it was very casual actually, because despite the fact that, like you said, we were living around furniture manufacturers, my family didn't have any direct connections with that world. But as a matter of fact, I've entered this world thanks to my uncle, because after graduating from university, I was searching for an internship or my first job experience. So I reached out to anyone I knew, like family, friends of friends. And my uncle at the time was the importer for Poltrona Frau in Spain. And he kindly offered to see if there were any opportunities for me to apply for an internship at the headquarters in central Italy. And at the time, I knew nothing about furniture, to be honest. I mean, I've seen furniture all over the place, like you said, but I had no idea of the specifics, and especially luxury furniture. And I don't know, I found it mind-blogging that a leather armchair could cost thousands of pounds, But as I learned more about the industry and its intricacies, I developed a deep appreciation for design and fell in love with it. So this is how I started, very randomly, But like you said, I was lucky enough to start from one of the top brands in Italy.
So then you landed in London with Harper. You were a director for their beautiful showroom in Clerkenwell for 6.5 years.
Mm.
And after that, you felt like you needed a change of directions. I know all this because we had a chat before. Back in the day, I remember you saying you wanted a new challenge, and you were incredible in you managed to create your own job. So how do you think you got a very mixed experience in your CV. You kind of jump back and forth from PR and communications to sales. How this very interesting background managed to allowed you to create this job role for yourself today?
Well, I have over 25 years of experience in the international design industry, and you're right. I've have held various roles in marketing, PR. By the way, PR communication in general is my education. So I graduated in Milan in public relation. I have a degree in public relation and business communication. And but sometimes you go to you start with a work experience. I was mentioning earlier, Poltrona Frau. My first experience was in communication, but then as you go along, and I'm very happy to to look into different experiences myself. So I ended up doing, again, PR, marketing, but also sales, and then I ended up in the board of well-known high-end furniture manufacturers across Europe and the United States. And I don't know, I would say that my career has been driven by definitely passion for design, but also for innovation, and very curious. And of course, I think I've been driven by what I consider now my specialty, which is connecting people. And I guess when in 2010, when I moved to London to establish the UK branch of Harper, I don't know. I think I had this amazing opportunity to start this branch from scratch. So it was quite mandatory to learn and meet people here in London, to learn the market and meet people here in London. And at the end of this experience, I resigned in 2017. I found myself pretty much connected with the A&D community, with fellow professionals working for other companies. And I don't know, maybe it was a natural step for me to put this experience, let's say, at work. And that's how I guess I ended up being consultant, or being part of different boards of different companies. Currently I work as a board advisor to various company in the design industry, of course, as well as designers lately. And I provide strategic guidance. I help companies navigate the complexities of the market that very well is especially London is quite peculiar. And yeah, I think this experience came from my previous diverse experience in different roles with different companies and different countries.
So there you go. We also share the same university degree from the same university. I've forgotten
Yeah,
about that.
yes, we're fellow Ulm
Yeah,
students.
Yoon forever. Yeah.
Yes,
So listen, as you said, when you left ARPA, you were incredibly well connected. And if you think you've been there for only 6.5 years, you really managed to create an incredible reputation, and you're well known by everybody in Clerkenwell. I can't speak to anybody that's, oh yeah, Daniel, I know Daniel. So I remember you used your showroom to create these relationships, and I remember you were doing quite a lot of very quirky events, like the dinners with the design museum and things like that.
yes.
How do you think the showroom and the helped you create these relationships?
I think the showroom for Harper at the time, but for mostly every brand, is a game changer. I think a showroom is more than just a space to display products. It's like, of course, it's a brand's physical identity, but it's where you tell your story, you showcase your values, and create an experience, if you want, that resonates with your audience. And I think At the time, we were not very well known as a brand, but the showroom, as it is today, is very beautiful. And what we thought at the time was to create some experiences for our target audience that went beyond the products, but could put them in a nice mood. For example, you mentioned the dinners with the Design Museum. By the way, that was the very first event that the Design Museum organized outside their home. So that was something I was very proud of. But at the time when we organized such events, we thought, okay, you know what? Let's turn this showroom into a space for a dialogue, for a conversation that not necessarily are linked to selling products. So we at the time were acting as facilitators or something. We were connecting people in our space. And of course, you're sitting there in a beautiful environment. People, the guests we had were really, really like top guests, thanks also to the Design Museum connections. And, they were looking around. And, our goal at the time was that everyone that came to the dinner would leave the showroom thinking, wow, what a beautiful setting, what a beautiful company. And perhaps let me have a look for my next project. They could be, quite fit for it. And yeah, so that was out. By the way, another thing was a little bit of a surprise effect, because when we asked the Design Museum to do that with us, to organize the dinners, the guys from the Design Museums at the time, they told us that, when they were contacting the guests, they were saying, okay, so nice dinner, cool. So where is the restaurant? And the Design Museum guy said, well, actually, it's not in the restaurants. It's a furniture showroom. I said, what? A furniture showroom? So that element also, I think, contributed to make it, like a very diverse, let's say, if you want, event. And I also noticed that in the following years, other brands follow the same example. So I think, again, maybe to make the most of a showroom, I think you need to focus on creating an atmosphere that reflects your brand's ethos, but while also being versatile enough to host these kind of events or workshops or, I don't know, private viewings. And I think the customer experience is key.
I love that. This is exactly what Il Salotto is meant to be. With Il Salotto, that's what we want to do. We want to connect people and start conversations. So thank you very much for that. You
Well,
stole my words. We are great minds think alike and all that jazz. So listen, if you are a new brand that wants to get into the UK market, what are your top tips? Do we start from London? Because I have been focusing my business on the regions for 10 years, I always want to fight the battle. I said, there is not just London in the UK. What do you think?
well, London for sure is the, let's say, main destination, just for the fact that if you are a brand that offer a product that could be specified by the huge A&D community that is in London, basically, if you come here, it's not just London, but it's like, you have a fantastic window for business happening, for your products to be specified in project that end up in all over the world. So that's, I think, is the main reason why brands are interested in coming to London and possibly opening, a flagship store here, etc. And another reason is probably because here you have some trends happening that maybe then little by little they would expand in the rest of Europe, let's say, or at least used to be before pandemic and Brexit, etc., etc. But I remember, if I go back a little bit in a nostalgic way, at Harper times, I remember that I was fighting, I would say, quite frequently with the headquarters, saying, "Look, guys, we need to think about doing this, because we can notice here that the architects are definitely going this way." And sometimes in Italy, within the headquarters, people wouldn't understand that, because they they didn't see it yet happening in their, domestic market or in other markets, but it was always the case. So this is another important, area where if you pay close attention to things happening here, you could be a little bit ahead of time with your strategies. And I think, again, London is this kind of gateway to the global design market because there's connection with, Middle East, US, Far East, etc. And to enter successfully, I think is crucial to understand the local, let's call it culture or dynamics that I just mentioned, but also is key, at least it was for my experience, to build strong relationships and perhaps adapt your brand message to resonate with both, the local and international audience. But definitely networking is essential, as it's being, and also being like present at attending, key industry events. I think London market is diverse and it's offering something, unique that you don't find in other areas. And this, unfortunately, sometimes, overshades a little bit the rest of the UK because, when a company maybe, they decide to invest, money in opening a showroom, etc., of course, they would, for these reasons, they would prioritize London. However, this current situation, I think I can see that more and more companies now are opening up to looking at other areas in the UK. Perhaps after the pandemic or Brexit, I don't know, but definitely the pandemic changed a little bit some things, and they're looking maybe for let's call it fresh areas, or maybe to empower other areas in the UK that before they were not so looked after. And in my experience, when we dealt with Scotland or Northern England or even Ireland, the quality of the relationship was slightly better, less stressed, less rushed. There was more like a human side of it. You could definitely focus on the project, on the specification, on the delivery. There was a more like, I don't know if it's the right word, but a more like human dialogue. While here in London, definitely everything is rushed, but nothing against, of course, the architects or designer, but it's just the way it is. It's just the dynamic of the market. Maybe the client changes his mind, or he's in a hurry. But in the other areas, I think you could work in a more, let's say, relaxed and efficient way if you want.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with that. I've noticed myself. So when I started 10 years ago, there was really nothing outside of London, which allowed me to get established fairly quickly in big markets like Glasgow and Manchester and then Dublin. Manchester has definitely changed in the last just before the pandemic, but after the pandemic even more so. There's more showrooms there, there's more events, there's more stuff going on. And then I have a feeling that now companies are now moving their eyes into Glasgow because it's such a powerful platform. As you say, here we have the opportunity of developing very strong relationships with these architects. They are still working on international level. They're not just doing things in Scotland, they're doing things all over the country and abroad. So, and exactly as you say, here you have the opportunity to be an advisor to help them develop their specifications, not just send a sample and then see can I have my order or not. So
Right.
yeah, totally agree with that. So you are my luxury expert, right? Because you've been working with these incredible brands for such a long time. I don't think, I might be wrong, but my impression is the big brands which we love, Poltrona Frau, Cassina, Cappellini, Moroso, all these guys, they don't really have a market in Scotland. And I don't think it's just a matter of budget. I'm starting to think it's also a matter of heritage and culture and things like that. Have you ever any feedback or ideas about this?
I think the attention and appreciation of like luxury furniture, let's call it like that, or high end design furniture is definitely stronger in the south of the UK, for sure. I remember in the past, for example, I was dealing with a bank who had different offices, throughout the UK, and they would specify, like high-end furniture for their London offices or, around the area, but maybe not so. It was not so important for them to specify the same furniture, the same quality furniture for the rest of the country. And this is not because they didn't care about the rest of the country, but because the local employees didn't care. So for them to have I don't know, a Vitra desk or an IKEA desk, or not IKEA, sorry, maybe a local manufacturer desk, it was exactly the same. For them, it was a desk. Whereas in London, it was like kind of seen as a benefit from the point of view of the employees to have, like, high-end or design furniture in their work environment. So I think is probably is a cultural thing. It's not so much coming from the companies, but it's maybe, like is coming from the audience. However, like I said earlier, maybe this is changing, not massively, but especially younger generation, they're traveling more. Maybe they find appreciation in, for example, sustainability. So maybe these big brands they have to anyway. They pay attention now to how a product is made, and if they can make it with different processes that favor a more sustainable approach. And maybe younger generation or younger designers, even outside London, would favor or understand more that kind of approach compared to a mass production, maybe from Malaysia or China or somewhere else. And yeah, that could be like a little bit of a difference compared to some years ago. But strictly speaking, regardless of the level of the brand, as you know very well, companies tend to see the turnover. So if they know that they make more money from London, they would definitely, favor the area where they can be more profitable, of course. And maybe if luxury brands don't have that kind of response in other area, then of course they won't invest there, as they would in here in London. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you've got a point there, because even in the hospitality sector, I've been in Scotland for what 11 years now, and there is definitely something changing in the hospitality. All of a sudden, we have more design, more luxury, even self-catering accommodation. You got the quirkier bits, you got more designery, more curated spaces rather than usual tartan cushions and stuff like that. So yeah, I would tend to agree what you just said is a good point. The new generation is putting more, traveling more and seeing more things, and therefore creating the change. Similarly, historically, I've been working much more with Scandinavian brands rather than Italians. Why would you? Any ideas why Scandinavian brands more established in the UK throughout, and therefore they're more interested in working on the regions, or Italians, they're just London, London, London?
I don't know. I think Scandinavian brands in general, first of all, they've been very proactive in branding themselves around, sustainability, for example, but also around minimalism, functionality. So they're very pragmatic in their approach, with maybe compared to maybe Italian brands that are more about, heritage and, the satisfaction of sitting on a, luxurious chair or whatever. But the Scandinavian are more pragmatic, and perhaps this pragmatism in their design resonates strongly with the consumers in your area. They've also invested heavily in marketing and collaborations, and maybe they were more visible in the design scene. Italian brands, again, while rich in heritage and everything, sometimes they rely on their legacy and established markets, potentially, let's say, overlooking emerging opportunities. And, they kind of sit on their let's say, fame and prestige. And so I don't know, maybe they have this limit that they somehow expect people to go to them rather than to make the effort and even if they are established, etc., but to make the effort to go somewhere new and start from scratch, because we are such and such brand, so you should come to us. This kind of, I don't blame them, because imagine you are one of those brands and everywhere you go people come to you and bring you gifts and flowers and wow, and you're beautiful, and like you are the best, and you are 100 year old, and etc. So sometimes they can become lazy, and and maybe, I don't know, they can be a little bit spoiled, while again maybe Scandinavian, again, they're more pragmatic and they look more into perhaps opportunities. But it could be especially, I mean, in like also what you said earlier about these emerging trends happening, could be a great chance for Italian brands to reassert their presence by maybe embracing these contemporary narratives that are happening in your area while staying true to their roots. Maybe that's the key for them to start afresh.
Yeah, they need to come and trust me and work with me.
Exactly.
Listen, I have a confession to do. My lifetime ambition is to be the Daniel Gava of Scotland. So how do I do that?
I don't know. Sometimes even today, actually, I had this, funny enough, I had the same conversation yesterday with a friend, and we've been knowing each other for a long time, and she again asked me, "So Daniel, what is it that you do now?" So I don't know. I cannot define. And most of the time, when I find myself in some events or industry events, and somebody introduced me to somebody else, the only way to describe me was, "Oh, this is Daniel. He knows everyone." So this is complicated to frame in one definition what I do. I don't know. When I
Because
open
you
up.
are unique. You can't define something unique.
But you too are unique, because what you do is actually, there's no one else that I know that is doing the same. So, and you do it very successfully and consistently. I honestly, I cannot answer this question. The only thing I know that I had to, when we started with Harper, I had to go out there and meet as many people as I could, and get into, create new relationship. And so that's how I ended up knowing a lot of people. But I don't know, and I'm definitely open to new opportunities. I'm very curious. I'm a yes man, in the sense that if you come to me and you say, "Hey Daniel, let's do this," I will probably say yes. And yeah, that's how I embrace different situations. I welcome them. I'm not afraid to work in an environment or another environment. So maybe this is one of my characteristics, and I don't know, I just go with the flow. Maybe I don't need a definition. That's the I mean, a job definition. That's my, probably that's my nature.
Yeah, you're passionate. You're very connected. You don't need anything else.
Exactly. So I keep on going until it lasts. I'll go.
Right. Daniel, thank you very much for that. That was very, very interesting and good fun. We hope you'll join us for the Il Salotto opening whenever it's going to be, hopefully soon enough. Thank you for your time today.
You're welcome, Sarah. Thank you for inviting me. And I wanted to wish you all the best for this new project. And I'm sure that when I come to the opening, there will be like fantastic gathering of people celebrating your work.
Thank you very much for listening to Il Salotto Sessions. If you enjoyed the chat, please make sure you share with your friends and follow our podcast on Spotify or Apple Podcast. For more information on our events, please visit ilsalotto.design and designpopup.com. You can also find us on Instagram _designpopup and Il Salotto Glasgow, as well as LinkedIn. Should you have any feedback, questions, or suggestions, please do get in touch. We would love to hear from you. Thank you.